I have a niece, Destiny, who is now 19 years old. My sister became Destiny's mother after a brief affair. During that period, she met her future husband, who promised to love Destiny as much as his future children. He remained true to his word until the birth of my nephew 2 years after that. With the arrival of my son, my sister's husband's attitude toward Destiny began to change. Although he was not overtly cruel to her, it became apparent that his interest in the girl had waned compared to the time before Michael, as we named our youngest nephew, was born. When family members voiced their concerns, my sister asked us not to interfere, asserting that her husband remained a caring father to all their children. Over the years, my sister gave birth to 2 more children. When Destiny reached the age of 12, she began to engage in attention-seeking behavior in an attempt to get the same treatment her siblings had. It was noticeable to anyone who paid attention that her behavior was an attempt to get equal treatment in the family. Destiny would often come to me in tears when she was 13 years old. At that time, I had just found a stable job and purchased a house, which made Destiny spend a lot of time at my house. When I suggested that she stay to live with me, my sister agreed without hesitation, handing over the care of her daughter to me. The relationship between my sister and Destiny was strained. They hardly ever spoke to each other, although Destiny sometimes kept in touch with the rest of her siblings. Since then, our family has been me, my husband, our son, and Destiny, whom we love like family. Our finances improved and we were able to move to another house. Destiny asked to stay in the old house as it was conveniently located near the school she wanted to go to. We agreed that she could stay there with friends who would look after the house with her. 3 days ago, my sister called me in tears to inform me that the landlord of the house they were renting had decided to sell it. They drove to my old house, but Destiny wouldn't let them in, threatening to call the police if they didn't leave. My sister told me that they were now forced to live in a motel, which had become financially impossible for them, and asked me to evict Destiny so they could move into the house. I refused, which caused her anger and accusations that I was making them homeless. After she started yelling at me, I ended the conversation. My parents also contacted me, wondering if I was really okay with my sister and her children being homeless. I responded that it was not my responsibility and offered to take them in, to which they replied that due to my father's age, this was not possible. I agreed to help find them a new place to live, but when I offered it to my sister, she insisted on staying in the house Destiny was living in. I said no again, and since then my sister has been a cause of constant stress, trying to get her way through calls and texts from different numbers. I realize it is not my responsibility, but I truly feel sorry for my nieces and nephews. In my refusal to evict Destiny, I feel guilty as my family has been put in a difficult situation. Do not hold yourself responsible for the actions of others, especially in situations where they are trying to take advantage of your compassion or obligation. It is important to protect yourself and your loved ones, including Destiny and her friends, by installing security cameras in your old home, if there are none, and providing as much protection as possible from unwanted visits. Gather Destiny and her friends to make sure they are aware that your sister and her family are not allowed access to the house. If there is an attempt at illegal entry, do not hesitate to contact the police for assistance. Your sister's family's home selling situation may not be what she described to you. She may not have been completely honest or may have been misled herself. It's important to remember that many jurisdictions have laws protecting tenants' rights, including requirements to provide notice before eviction, even on month-to-month leases. Consequently, your sister may not have told the whole truth about why they are about to be evicted, and it is likely that problems paying rent are at the root of their current situation. If your sister is eager to move into the house where Destiny is currently living, without a desire to find alternative accommodation and bear the cost of it, this indicates an unwillingness to accept the reality of their situation. It is unacceptable to use one's children as a means to achieve personal goals, especially when it entails risking their well-being and safety. Ultimately, despite the complexities of family relationships and making decisions that may seem difficult or cause discomfort, it is important to put the well-being and protection of those who depend on your support and care first. Next story. My wife and I are raising our young son. She stays home to take care of him and I, owning my own dental practice, provide for our family, which allows her to not have to work. Our story started not too long ago, before she got pregnant, and I moved in with her a year after we first met. We were married a week after our son Landon was born. Since then, Things have not been perfect in our household. I often come home to find dirt, unwashed laundry, and no dinner. Discussing this, my wife explains that our son demands a lot of attention, leaving her little time for household chores. Contrary to what she says, I thought handling Landon wasn't that difficult, especially on the weekends when I'm home. Last week, when my wife left to visit her mother, I took a vacation to stay with Landon. This period has been surprisingly easy for me. Activities with my son, including teaching him math and changing diapers, only took about 20 minutes a day. Cooking took a little longer, about 40 minutes, and loading the dishwasher took 10 minutes. Bathing for Landon took about 30 minutes, and I spent about 25 minutes a day cleaning. Our total time was spent playing games and having fun, and I only spent an hour and a half on household chores. It is frustrating for me to realize that during the day, while I am busy working to provide for the family, my wife is not doing household chores. She comes home tomorrow, and I intend to discuss our family roles with her. After spending a week dealing with the house and child, I expect her to take more initiative as her current contribution seems inadequate to me. If things don't change, I will be forced to make decisions that may affect our family. My wife is younger than me. She is 27 and I am 33. I realize that at her age, it is possible to lack some mature qualities. However, when you become a mother and choose to stay at home, it is implied that you take on certain responsibilities. In our case, it seems to me that those responsibilities are not being fully fulfilled. I wonder if I am making a mistake in demanding that my wife pay more attention to household chores. However, I believe it is important in family life that both partners contribute and support each other. Perhaps the reason for the clutter in your home is not due to laziness, but due to the difficulties your wife faces being around you. It may be worth considering giving her a chance to find some peace of mind, even if it means separating. The hope is that she will find professional help to help her sort through her feelings and worries. Your efforts around the house, including cooking, though seemingly insignificant, should not be underestimated. However, criticizing the way someone handles household chores is not always appropriate, especially if the basis for it is assumption. In fact, everyone may have their own ways of coping with household chores. Expressing dissatisfaction in the open, especially toward the person you plan to share your life with, can cause not only surprise but also bewilderment to others. At age 27 and with a child in her arms, your wife is facing a situation that requires support, not criticism. Issues of alimony and financial support are also important, but should not be the main topic of conversation at times like these. The complexity of the situation is compounded by her mother's illness, which can add stress and anxiety to her life. Support and understanding during such a time is critical to emotional well-being. Relationships require attention, care, and above all, respect for the partner's experiences and feelings. Open and honest dialogue can help to overcome difficulties and find solutions to problems, while maintaining respect and love for each other. Now I want to tell a different story. I am 38 years old and a woman. My neighbor, whom we will call Sarah, lives next door to us. She is also 38 years old and a woman. I am married and raising 2 teenage girls. Sarah has 2 boys in her family who are the same age. Sarah is also married, but her spouse is often traveling due to work while she runs the home business. I work as a teacher, so I am able to enjoy school and summer vacations during the winter break. Sarah's children regularly stop by to see if my daughters would like to play with them. This suggested that the boys were probably bothering their mom, and she was looking for a way to find something for them to do. What started as a friendship at a younger age waned over time as the children's interests diverged. Unlike my daughters, who attend public school, Sarah's sons attend parochial school. This means they have no common teachers or classmates, and there is much less in common between them. Meetings between the children became infrequent, and when they did get together, there were often arguments between the boys and my girls. One time during winter vacation, Sarah's youngest son came to ask if my children could play with him. I replied that they didn't want to go out at this hour. Sarah texted me that she had a work call scheduled. She expressed her desire for her boys to spend time out of the house. I agreed to this request and asked my daughters to find an activity to do with the boys. However, just 10 minutes later, my older daughter came to me, unable to hold back tears, and told me that one of the boys had made a hurtful comment about how boring our home was. He also expressed his displeasure at my refusal to allow him to play the Xbox, which belongs to my husband and is in the living room. where I was doing laundry and watching a TV show at the time. I suggested to the boys that if they were bored, they could go home. Sarah recently asked me if I could watch the boys for 2 days because of her busy work schedule, to which I said no because I was planning a trip to visit family in Florida. Sarah, realizing my position, joked that she might ask for help over the summer. I, in turn, clarified that I would not be able to watch her children over the summer without a real need. I apologized and explained that not having a school job in the summer doesn't mean I can do other people's kids for free. Even during the summer, I do have obligations, as I teach online courses for my master's degree and teach at an online summer school. This means I also work from home. Sarah exploded and stated that I should help her since she is often alone with her children who have a hard time finding things to do all day. I replied that I didn't mind if the kids played outside together during the summer, but that I wouldn't take responsibility for her children without adequate compensation. I tried to explain that the kids don't get along as well as they used to, and my daughters don't really want the boys at our house all the time. Now Sarah took offense and stopped communicating with me. Furthermore, her oldest son has told my oldest daughter that I am supposedly a bad person for refusing to help a neighbor and not a good person for not agreeing to watch her kids over the summer. You shouldn't blame yourself because everyone is entitled to personal boundaries and vacation time. Instead of suggesting that children say hurtful things, it is better to maintain positive communication and respect for others. It's important to remember that real relationships between neighbors are built on mutual understanding and support, not unilateral concessions. A good neighbor always takes care of his or her children and does not shift this responsibility to others. Instead of spreading gossip, it is better to focus on building an open and honest relationship. If there are difficulties in communicating with neighbors or their children, it is helpful to seek diplomatic ways to resolve the problem. Rather than overcommitting, constructive solutions can be offered. For example, providing information about local summer camps can be a good alternative to employing children during the vacations. This will allow their parents to find a suitable option for their children and ensure that they have a rewarding and interesting time. In addition, a well-deserved vacation is important for everyone, especially after a long period of work and effort. Taking time for yourself and your loved ones is not only an opportunity to recuperate, but also an important aspect of self-care. Therefore, it is important to be mindful of your needs and feel free to say no when necessary to maintain your own well-being. My next story. I am a 30-year-old female engaged to Jack, a 31-year-old man, last year. From the beginning, organizing the wedding turned into a real nightmare. We were looking forward to celebrating this momentous occasion and began our search for a suitable venue. However, unforeseen circumstances took their toll. Jack suffered a knee injury that left him unable to walk for several months. During this recovery period, our family's attention was diverted by another event. Jack's brother, Paul, was engaged to Eva, and all the talk centered around their engagement. They threw a gala event, picking out venues and outfits, while we stayed in the background. As Jack recovered, it became clear that we weren't eager to compete for attention with Paul and Eva. Plus, a traditional gala was beyond our budget. We concluded that it would be much more economical to have the wedding in Greece with close friends and family and then stay there for the honeymoon. Our decision was greeted enthusiastically by our family, but only until Paul and Eva announced the date of their celebration a month ahead of our planned date. This move seemed intentional to us. Paul had always strived to be first in everything. The family's interest centered on the preparations for Paul and Eva's lavish wedding, leaving our celebration without proper attention. Things didn't seem to be going as planned. Only one friend, Taylor, from the bridal party expressed her willingness to come to Greece. Even my mother couldn't confirm her attendance. Paul and Eva seemed to be doing their best to sideline us. There was no interest in our wedding, and my bachelorette party was a failure. However, that's a whole other story. In July, Jack and I decided to have a private ceremony at the courthouse to make the day special just for us and not for everyone else. Jack and I continued to enjoy life in Greece, where everything was working out perfectly. Due to saving some of our budget, we decided to throw a cozy reception for friends and family in the US when we returned home. After revealing our little secret that we got married in July, we faced waves of shock among our loved ones. Eva, especially, made no secret of her displeasure, spending the rest of the evening confused and angry. Our friends chose to disengage, and Taylor even left the event early due to exigent circumstances, followed by my mom. Taylor later contacted me expressing her pain at the realization that she had been excluded from our special day. After learning of the wedding at the same time as my family, she was only invited to the reception and beach celebrations, two of the most significant events in my life. Taylor talked a lot about her feelings in therapy, emphasizing that even though our day was not directly related to her, she still wanted to be a part of it. No one else, including my family, expressed similar feelings, putting me at odds with the question of her exceptionalism. My coworker called me unreasonable for admitting guests to the reception late, only to inform them that they were not invited to the actual wedding. It made it feel like they ex post facto felt robbed of their right to be a part of our celebration. In the end, there were 3 key events: a private courthouse ceremony in July, just the 2 of us, our honeymoon in Greece in December, again just us, and a reception in the US with family in January. Unfortunately, after my mom was unable to join us, we had to cancel the invitations for my in-laws and Taylor from Greece. You realize what a mistake you made because you created the argument in your own mind, thus hurting both sides in an effort to prove yourself right. It seems to me that the whole situation with Paul and Eva is nothing more than a figment of your imagination. You have created useless chaos out of nothing. Life goes on for everyone, even though Jack is recovering. Paul and Eve are free to celebrate their wedding as they wish, without any restrictions or prescriptions as to who should marry first. Your words seem to be a cry for attention, and your actions and words in the post make you uncomfortable and suggest there is a conflict. It's unclear why it was decided to wait until this particular moment to announce, which seems unusual to be at a wedding only for one of you to inadvertently reveal that you had already gotten married months ago. It sounds vindictive and creates unnecessary drama. It would be much better and cheaper to spend time with close friends and family rather than spending money on a honeymoon. Organizing a wedding in the faraway country in question represents a significant burden for all the wedding guests and participants. Your friends and family might have thought that they were being forced to spend large sums of money to travel to Greece to attend the celebration, even though you were actually already married. That would be quite selfish of you, especially since you probably didn't offer to pay the transportation cost for your mom. Time to grow up, really. A story that really surprised me. My relationship with my 2 brothers leaves a lot to be desired. My older brother's family has a teenager growing up named Lana. My younger brother also has a teenage daughter, Tori. I develop a warm relationship with Tori's mom. After their divorce, I continued to communicate with her, which has allowed me to be a part of Tori's life. Tori and I are very close. I have a special affection for her. In contrast, I have not been involved in Lana's life. Her parents are not close to me. Lana seems less like a niece and more like a stranger to me. I usually call Tori by affectionate nicknames. One of them is Noodles. This nickname comes from her curly hair. Recently, at a family reunion organized by my parents, I addressed Tori using this nickname. My older brother asked me for a private conversation. During the conversation, he expressed his displeasure with my treatment of Lana. He suggested that I should also find a nickname for her. In response to his remark, I ironically suggested a less than flattering nickname. This caused my brother to become even more irritated. He expressed his displeasure to me regarding my special treatment of Tori. In this context, resentment is expressed over the behavior of someone who suggests that there is a close emotional contact between you and his child, a contact that he has made no effort to develop. He demonstrated unreasonably high demands, calling it unacceptable. You in turn should not have picked up a hurtful nickname, even if you don't plan to say it out loud. You shouldn't blame Lana for her parents' dislike of you. It's not her fault. Being cruel to an innocent child is a big mistake. It is unreasonable to expect you to suddenly develop a close bond with his daughter or treat her affectionately when there is no reason to do so. Without even saying it out loud, you have unfortunately allowed yourself to insult a child you don't personally know. A child who may have all the qualities to be a wonderful person has become the object of negativity solely because of your rejection of his parents. This behavior is not likely to go unnoticed and can affect the child, even if not directly. Your reaction seems rather immature, and perhaps you would do well to seek the advice of a professional. In the case of the nickname suggested by Opie to his brother, there is the question of your perception of the situation. If you don't sympathize with your father, that is no reason to behave in this way. He undoubtedly did wrong in naming you and has no right to demand anything from you given your lack of connection with his daughter. Trying to force a relationship only emphasizes his mistake in this situation.